And now it's time for a podcast with Keld Jones. Keep dreaming, my friend. Keep dreaming.
I need to play the intro again. I forgot to start recording. Oh no. Oh no. I forgot to start recording. Hold on. I forgot to go over my my pre-flight checklist. Done. Every important thing other than start recording is done. Okay, cool. All right, this time with more recording. Here we go.
And now it's time for a podcast with Keld Jones. Keep dreaming, my friend. Keep dreaming.
Welcome to Keep Dreaming with Keld Jones. That's me. Keep Dreaming is a podcast about dreams, the video game and creation engine for PlayStation, and the community that brings it to life. And today, my guest is none other than RbdJellyfish, a dreamer whose games you probably played. You've probably if you like silliness, if you like puzzle games, if you like singing cats as Easter eggs, you've probably dipped in. I got distracted by chat. I thought we had an echo again. Thank you, Andy. It's a false alarm echo. Someone's got the stream open in 2 tabs. All right. So, RbdJellyfish, Impy nominee for Creator of the Year and Creation of the Year for his puzzle game A Little Perspective, and soon to be a media molecule of media. RbD, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks. Good.
Was that
How are you?
on a scale of your choosing, how would you rate that intro? Was that the best intro you've ever received?
I'll give it a 6. I won't tell you out of what.
Oh, I like
It's a 6 out of something.
I'm going to assume it's a 6 out of 5.
Good guess.
Well, anyways, RbdJellyfish. Your name is a mouthful. RbdJellyfish. I have at times referred to you as Chancellor Jellyfish, just because it. Okay. I'm already starting going down a rabbit hole. But early in the stream, we had 800 Pixel Gorilla come by, and I was like, well, we already have a Pixel. So he became Dr. Gorilla, and then we had Super Gaming Lizard, and I'm like, I feel weird calling you Lizard. Like, I can't call you Super, and I can't call you Gaming, and I can't call you Lizard. Hello, Lizard. It doesn't feel right, so I had to start calling him Professor Lizard. And then RbdJellyfish, similar scenario. Like, RBD works. It's a little chunky. Calling you Jellyfish doesn't feel quite right. Of course, Lena wants to leave now. Our stream kitty wants to go.
Yeah, like the RBD.
I'm narrating this for the podcast listeners, so I don't have to edit it out. So yes, So sporadically, I've referred to you as the Chancellor or Chancellor Jellyfish. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I mean, the RBD came from it used to be RbdJellyfish, which I guess is a little less of a mouthful by like 1 syllable. But like I think what happened was I was using RbdJellyfish for everything, and then like I tried to sign up for some site and it was somehow already taken, and so I switched to RBD, and it just looked more aesthetically pleasing in text, so I stuck with it a lot. And then like But then, of course, a lot of people didn't know it was Rabid, so they started calling me RBD, and then I just started going by that. But like Chancellor Jellyfish sounds way more epic, so I'll take that too.
If you were a boss in a video game, I think Chancellor Jellyfish would be a good name.
Oh, that'd be sick.
It is funny how you drop 2 letters and you gain a syllable. That's
Yeah, that is weird.
Where does that name come from? Is it just a random thing you thought of one day, or have you got any story behind it?
Like way back when I was little, it's kind of a funny story. So like in like middle school, I used to have really long hair. And when I would run in gym class, it would like kind of like bob like a jellyfish. And so I kind of got that nickname from that. And so I was just like jellyfish for everything. Like my like way back when like AIM was a thing, like AOL Messenger, that was like I had a jellyfish name on that. And then I had a friend who was like, you need something more creative like RbdJellyfish or something. And I was like, that's just like way better. So I'm just gonna start going by that. I just totally like stole the idea from a friend.
Do you remember your previous incarnations of jellyfish?
No, it was like it's probably just jellyfish and then some number.
Jellyfish 69420, obviously.
Yeah, probably.
Obviously. I don't know.
I was in middle school after all.
Yeah. I remember my AIM days fondly. Lots of shenanigans. But that's not what we're here to talk about. As long as we're talking about your youth, how about I would love to hear what your early gaming memories are. Like like where did you get started playing video games?
I think like the first game I remember playing a lot was Lego Racers.
Lego Racers. What is that for?
On PC, I think. That's what I played it on. I played a bunch of like cheesy games before that, probably like the little like board game type things that were built into Windows or like whatever. But Lego Racers was like the first 3D thing that got me really excited. And then like beyond that, I think my first console was a PS2, like right when it came out. And I think my first game on that was like Spyro 3, because I guess like it's probably it's weird to start on Spyro 3 because there were 2 other Spyro games, but like I don't know, I just like those early 3D games were always like super inspiring to me because they were just these like totally wacky, colorful worlds where anything could happen. And, those are the kind of things that got me into like coming up with my own game ideas, and then slowly I went down like the game dev route and started doing my own stuff.
Yeah, it's wild to think that those are like those early 3D spaces are the first like I don't know the first. I'm looking for a word that I can't find. The first like fictional like spaces, simulated spaces that that we had ever walked through, right? Like, I mean, I think mine was probably Mario 64 was probably my first 3D game. But
yeah, I was never a Nintendo person as a kid, but like I know that's a big one for a lot of people.
What drove you to the PlayStation 2?
I don't remember. I didn't have much of a choice. Like I was young enough where it was just like video games are cool, and I didn't like have any specific consoles in mind. And so it was like mostly my parents just like bought it for me, and so that was what I had. And like PS2 had a lot of really good games, so that kind of got me on like the Sony bandwagon early on.
Yeah, it was a good console, but I mean that's the one that launched against the Xbox.
Yeah,
I don't know if the timing was exact. I don't know if it was the same month they came out, but it was the same generation they were a part of.
Yeah, it was the PlayStation, the Xbox, or the PS2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. I think was that generation.
Yeah. I never had a GameCube is where I dropped off from Nintendo before I came back for a DS down the road and a Switch now. But I went Xbox at that time, and the reason was it's what my brother bought. My brother bought an Xbox, and I saw him playing Halo, and I went, I need this in my life. And and then a few weeks later we had a system link cable going between our bedrooms, and we're like, we're sniping each other across these maps not intended for two players. But I bring that up because I feel like my decision to go Xbox prevented me from becoming a Little Big Planet player. If I owned a PlayStation and I knew what was going on in Little Big Planet, and neither of those things happened, I think I would have been a forgive me, a rabid consumer, a rabid participant in that community. It makes me a little sad to think about it. Like, it's just, like there's someone else out there right now who dreams would be their favorite thing in the world, but they don't have a PlayStation. They have no idea what's going on. Like, that's me, 15, 20 years ago, whenever LBP came out. Did you jump in? I know you're an LBP veteran. Did you jump in on the first game in the series?
I did. I didn't jump on it like at release. I think it was like the Christmas after it came out was when I jumped on it. I didn't know a lot about it. I think I literally downloaded the demo from the PlayStation Store, and I even like played through it and was like, yeah, this is like, I don't know, it's a platformer. But the thing that really hooked me was like, my sister was around and we realized it had multiplayer, and so we like played through it again together, and it was just like a million times better, and it was like so much fun because you can like grab each other in that game and then like slap each other around and like.
Oh wow! So you could do like the whole campaign with two players.
Yeah, I mean, like we had the demo at the time, so it's just a few levels, but it was like I don't know. Once we played it in multiplayer, it was like super fun, and then I just like begged my parents to get it for Christmas, and then I played through the entire thing in one day with my sister again. And then like that, and then I got into the create mode when I saw that was a thing, and then I got into like the community a little more and played online, and yeah, and then I don't know. I could go on about Little Big Planet like forever because that game kind of changed my life quite a bit.
Sorry, I just opened up my camera. I forgot forgot I turned off my camera that RBD can look at me on, the Discord cam. So was LBP then? Was that the first time you even thought about designing a game yourself?
No, I had done some stuff before that. I think so like I played all those games as a kid, and like I said, they were pretty inspiring. So I came up with a lot of ideas for my own games, but like it was always like on paper and stuff. Like I'd like write stories, or I'd draw pictures, or like make little comics or something.
Yeah.
And then I think when I was like 10 or something, my dad downloaded Game Maker for me. And that was the first time it had even occurred to me that I could make something myself.
Yeah.
Versus like coming up with ideas, and then like maybe when I was an adult I'd figure it out. But like so I like messed around with Game Maker a lot. I had no idea how to use it. I was like pretty technologically illiterate back then, so I just like bashed my head against it until I started figuring out how to make stuff. Because I didn't even know how to learn on my own back then. I didn't even think to check the documentation or anything. It was just
Right.
like literally messing around with the tools until something happened. Until I like had this mental model about how everything worked. But yeah, so it was Game Maker for a while, and off of that, like I also learned a little bit of animation and music composition and stuff.
Through Game Maker. I like,
yeah,
just because you needed those things to make a game, or like, I mean, were you making? Can you make music in Game Maker?
No, you have to import it.
Okay.
So Game Maker had, like, relatively speaking, it had a lot of built-in like tools. So it had like its own sprite editor and like level editor and like programming system built in, and a little bit of audio effects, but you still had to import like all the audio files externally. So it was a lot like Dreams in that way, where like you didn't have to learn 30 different programs to make a game. It was all just kind of like in one little package, which I really appreciated and still do appreciate.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you make anything that Did you make anything that you saw as complete in Game Maker?
Yes, but good, no.
But did you were you able to share, like, I'm not sure what the community was like, at that point, but were you able to
Oh no.
share what you did and get feedback, or did it kind of live on your hard drive?
Yeah, I was still too young to really like go on the internet. Um, like my parents were pretty strict about that kind of stuff, so I mostly just made games for fun and like played them myself, and maybe sent them to like friends with email or something. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, that's fine because like they were all really bad games. Like I have a few, like I have a website. It's like tadcordle.github.io or something. Like it's probably there's the link to it on my Twitter or something. But like I have a page of like a bunch of old Game Maker games
Oh, nice.
that from those days if you're really curious. But yeah, I have to warn you, they're all like really bad.
I'd be curious to see what someone did with a little follow through, even if it's bad, because before Dreams, I mean, like I was, I was a making games on paper kid too, just enthralled with games and like, but not thinking it was something that I had the capability to ever do. And Game Maker, I didn't touch it until, boy, I don't even know what year I was playing with Game Maker. I can't remember if it was after I learned about Dreams, but it was way before Dreams came out. But I can't remember if I even knew about Dreams at the time. But I dipped my toes in. I don't know how many hours I lasted, but it was it seemed way friendlier than all my other options.
Yeah,
But still,
definitely.
the amount of work and frustration it took to get me to, like, having a spinning cube that interacted with a circle, like, or not even a cube, a spinning square that interacted with a circle somehow was mind boggling. And it just felt like my brain, when I'm trying to come up with stuff, it felt like my brain was always going to move faster than my abilities could in that software. Then my abilities could catch up. And Dreams kind of feels like once you get it, yeah, it's not that much effort to figure out how to do this weird thing that this weird idea that popped into your head.
Right.
How let's see. So from Game Maker, when you were working in Game Maker, were you already did you already know programming of any kind?
No. Game Maker was like my first attempt at programming. So like that's where I learned a lot of like the basics, like variables and if statements and like maybe loops. I don't even know if I went that far. Um, but, like and collision detection and like detecting input and stuff. And so like that was really helpful because um, like through learning that in my free time, and then after middle school, I went into like a computer science program in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that gave me like this huge advantage because I'd already had a little bit of programming experience. So I was like flying through the courses, which was great. And that that was also helpful because I also ended up befriending a lot of like the smart kids in the class. And so like I learned a whole lot from them. Not even the teachers in the computer science academy thing. It was mostly like the people I was hanging out with were the people I was learning programming stuff from.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, and that's also around when like Little Big Planet came out. So I had already been doing a bunch of Game Maker and like started learning like uh, a little bit more like better practice programming or like more I don't even know what to call it, like more
Grown up
legitimate.
programming.
I don't know. I would still call Programming in Game Maker legitimate, but like sort of standalone like Java, like C Sharp basic, whatever. We were doing
Is
that kind
Game
of
Maker
stuff.
using its own language?
Yeah, I think it's called GML. It's sort of like JavaScript. Um, I don't know. It's pretty easy to use. It's pretty forgiving, if I remember correctly.
So looking at LBP and already having some experience making games, I'm curious, how much time did you actually put into Little Big Planet, into creating things?
Uh, a decent amount, but not like a ton. Like again, so my creations in LBP were like better than my game maker creations, but I still wouldn't call them good. Um, it was still very much like I was just making stuff for the fun of it. I wasn't really making stuff with like other people playing it in mind. Although I was publishing stuff, it was still like I'm making stuff I think is fun and completely ignoring like what might be a good game design decision, like taking other people into account, kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Would you say?
But
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I don't remember what the question was. So
Um,
uh,
yeah, I guess I'm just trying. Yeah, just trying to get a sense of what you created in Little Big Planet and what like what drew you to those tools. Did you continue making things in Game Maker while you were getting involved in Little Big Planet?
I don't think so. I think the last thing I made in Game Maker was like at the end of middle school. So when I went into high school and started learning like more like professional programming type stuff,
Yeah,
and getting into Little Big Planet sort of became my creative outlet as far as like game design went. Until much later. Uh, but yeah, it was still mostly just like for fun. It wasn't. I wasn't taking it super seriously back then.
were you making? I know I have very little experience with Little Big Planet, but I know. I mean, it's a platformer. You make platformers basically, but I know people bent it to do a lot of other unexpected things. Were
Yeah.
you mostly making platformers, or were you experimenting with anything else in there?
It was sort of a mix of like platformers and like trying to do a little bit of like complicated logic stuff. Like making vehicles
Hmm.
was pretty fun. Um, but like logic in the first Little Big Planet was very mechanical. So like if you
Yeah.
wanted to make an AND gate, you had to physically attach like some sort of sensor to a moving block and then move that block within some kind of trigger zone. Um, and and so if you wanted to make like an AND gate, what you had to do is attach two different blocks to two different pistons, and then if both pistons are extended, then the block would reach the zone. It would like extend far enough to reach the zone, and if the things weren't both active, then it wouldn't reach far enough. And so like you had to literally build the logic gates into physical space in that way.
That sounds
Um,
so crazy. So is that the intended use, or is that like a something people figured out how to do to make an
yeah,
AND gate
like
with pistons?
one of the cool things about the story levels in the game is that because everything was so physical like that, you could actually see the logic in the story levels that
What?
they use to make the like. So you'd be running by things and you see these random configurations of like tags and like sensors and stuff, and you can literally look at it and figure out what is going on, which was really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had no idea it
Yeah,
worked that way.
yeah. But like the fact that logic was that way made it all the more impressive when people were making stuff like calculators and stuff in that game. Like if you want to build a calculator in Dreams, it's like okay, you put down a gadget and you're done.
Right, right. So if you
Uh,
so with Little Big Planet 2, did it remove the need to have physical apparatus for logic?
yeah, LBP2 logic resembles Dreams logic a lot more. So they're like microchips and like the gates that you attach with wires, and
Yeah.
but it's not as flexible as Dreams, obviously, but you can definitely see like it's a starting point for what eventually became Dreams.
Gotcha. Can you tell me about your game development experiences post Game Maker? Where did you what were the next steps for you, and what did you do with the tools?
Yeah, so like I said, I was in that computer science academy for a few years, and I didn't really do game development during that time, other than like Little Big Planet stuff, I think.
Is that like a high
Um,
school situation?
yeah, so this was high school, the first 3 years of high school or so. Um, I wasn't really making games, but I was learning a lot of like programming and stuff. Um, my senior year of high school, I think for Christmas I got my own laptop, and
Ooh.
so that was when I downloaded XNA, which was like a Microsoft game development framework.
Hmm.
And I started getting back into game development with that. And
That
unlike
that
Game
sounds
Maker,
familiar. Is that something that was used professionally as well?
yeah, it was very like Windows, Xbox only sort of thing. So it was pretty closed platform,
Yeah.
which was kind of annoying. But I don't know, what can you do?
Yeah.
But unlike Game Maker, which had like all this stuff built in and like the editor and like the like a the level editor and the sprite editor and like these little objects you could create and stuff. In XNA, it's like if you open a new XNA project, it just opens like a code file template, and like you just have to write all of the code yourself. The thing XNA provided was like um, basically a few functions that you can fill out, like for what to do at the beginning of the game and what to do in the loop, and what to do when you want to draw stuff, I think,
Yeah.
to the screen. And so you had to write all that code yourself. And XNA provided all these like functions you could call into that would make things easier. So like it had like this sprite batching system. I don't remember. It had like these audio tools that had input like
this
controls
sounds
type stuff.
so this sounds so bare bones, like
Yeah,
and intimidating.
it was pretty intimidating, but like having gone through a few years of like computer science training, it like wasn't so bad because there were a couple of really helpful tutorials where they're like, I'm gonna make a game completely from nothing in XNA,
Hmm.
and then I like following that through, I learned like all the basics I needed to make the kind of stuff I wanted to make. Um, and so yeah, so I used that for like a few years, like 2 or 3 years, I think, before I jumped into Unity. Um, and then I think I spent like a year in Unity, and I made a game that I ended up getting on Steam. I worked on it with like a few other students because I was in college at that time. Um, yeah, we spent like a year on that, released it. Um, I w- Unity made me angry, so I just because it was really frustrating to use. I was like, I want to try a different engine. So then I tried Unreal, which made me even more frustrated. Uh, but I don't know. I still stuck with it, and then I released something called Sensorium after a few years. Um, and sort of in the middle of that was when Dreams came out, and so yeah, so I'd already had like all these years of messing with like engines and frameworks and stuff when I had gotten into Dreams.
Was Sensorium the first? Sorry, I think my question just floated out of my head. Sensorium was maybe just a year ago or a little longer.
Yeah, I released that in August last year, I think.
Okay.
But I'd been working on it on and off for like 4 years or something, or like 4.5 years.
Oh wow. How did you how was the reception releasing a game? What did it feel like to release a game you worked on for for that long? And
Uh, Way better than I would have expected. Um, like I was getting pretty frustrated with it by the end because, like I said, I've been working on it so on and off, and so I'd go through a lot of periods of low motivation where it was just kind of sitting there on my
yeah,
desktop, and like it was just there at the back of my head, like it's this big project I'd been working on and it's not done yet, and like why can't you just go finish it? Like, come on, what are you doing? And so by the very end, I was like really forcing myself through the last few things I needed to do. Um, and so I even like there are a few things in that game that I really wish I had polished up more, but I just didn't have the willpower to do it, I guess.
are you a person who can?
Especially it being like a solo project and stuff. Like I didn't really have so I had to do even the stuff I didn't like doing myself. But yeah, it released. I was really happy it was done. It's gotten some like pretty nice reviews so far, which are kind of surprising because it's a pretty niche like kind of thing, I think.
Yeah,
Um, Jonathan Blow played it on stream for a few days, and that was scary.
he played
But
it on
also,
stream.
Yeah,
Oh wow! I feel like I'd heard he played it, but he played it publicly. That must have been
yeah.
wild to see.
I didn't sleep much that week. Uh, but yeah, like I don't know. And he even said he liked it, and he's a very harsh kind of guy.
He
So that
has a
felt
blunt
good.
critic.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he pulls a lot of punches.
He does not. Um, he definitely had some punches he didn't pull, but overall he liked the game. It was very good feedback though, like extremely useful.
That's
Uh,
excellent. That
yeah.
one, I I have Sensorium on Steam. I'm trying to remember what was going on when you released it. I had something going on. My PC was on the fritz. My PC was, yeah. I had a good like 2-3 months where there's something with the graphic card where I didn't even want to play a game period because the graphics card was like getting ready to melt down. That's my excuse for not having played it, even though I bought it. You're welcome. You're
And that's
welcome.
fair.
I did that's the more important part, right? I mean, if I'm only going to do one of those two things.
I mean, maybe
Do you
you're
want
joking. 'Cause
money?
I don't know.
No. I mean,
I I always like I always just wanted people to play it. Like I released it for relatively cheap, and I didn't really market it very much, which I should have. But again, I was like so like kind of tired by the end of development that I didn't really feel like uh, doing that step, especially because that's like probably my least favorite step of game development is like putting myself out there and trying to make people buy the thing that I made.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I don't know. I was never like making it for the money. It was just like I wanted to make something cool that like other people might enjoy. Um,
Do you want to tell us about the game at all?
yeah, so
Give
it's
it.
like um, it's a first person puzzle game, small open world, um, sort of along the lines of what The Witness is like. But so what it deals with is like it has 5 areas, and each area has puzzles that have to do with one of the 5 traditional senses. So there's like an area with hearing based puzzles, there's an area with sight based puzzles, there's one with like touch, taste, and smell. And then there are a bunch of like secrets scattered around and stuff like between all of that. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty small game. I think it takes like uh, depending on how good you are at puzzles, I think it takes anywhere from like 3 to 8 hours to like get to the end, and then there's a bunch of secret stuff after that. Like I said,
Intriguing. Intriguing. Duckonomics has a question in the chat. He wants to know what were your expectations of Dreams before it was released? And I guess I would tag on to that. Did it meet them?
uh, it def- it definitely exceeded my expectations. I think I was trying to keep very realistic expectations. Like, um, I remember watching a lot of like tech talks about it, or not a lot. Like, there were probably only a few at the time. Like, notably, I remember Alex Evans talking about it at something in Finland. Uh, I think it was called like Learning from Failure or something. Or failing forward, or so, I don't remember. It was something like that. But I
Yeah.
remember him going
I
into
know I
like the
watched it
engine.
more than once, and I don't remember any of the
He,
details either.
he was going through like the way the engine worked, and I just remember looking at that and being like, how is it even possible to do this like fast enough to actually have the game run like on a PS4?
Yeah.
I don't like because I remember going on Reddit and stuff and seeing people being like, "Oh, I'm gonna make like a 20-hour JRPG," and I'm like, I just do not see being technically possible to do something like that. Um, but then it came out, and I realized like one, it works way better than I thought it was, and it was more fun than I expected it to even be to like create stuff.
Yeah.
And two, like even with its limitations, if you're tricky with things, you can do a lot more than you would expect.
So,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely like exceeded my expectations when it came out. I had an absolute blast in the beta.
Sounds like you were very interested, but yeah, your expectations were really in check there.
Yeah. I also remember like a lot of people early on like getting really mad about the beta 2016 thing, and then 2017 being almost completely silent.
Yeah.
But I remember like at that time too, I was like, I think things are fine. Like this is extremely ambitious what they're doing. Like
Right.
there was no way beta 2016 was going to happen, like with the way they were describing things.
I can imagine the heartbreak though. Like I learned about Dreams about 2 years before it was released, 2 years before early access, roughly. And my expectations were like I think they were realistic, but my level of excitement was intense. Like not like having had a little game maker experience that felt very deflating and frustrating, and having always had a really strong interest in creating worlds and in playing games, and I was definitely, if I had been following Dreams since it was first announced, that would have crushed me. That 2016 we're gonna have a beta. We're not gonna have a beta. That I can understand. That would have felt very bad. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you had reasonable expectations, and I'm
I
curious what you saw yourself. Did you see yourself doing anything specific with the tool before you had it in your hands?
Well, so I wasn't even expecting to create a lot, because like I had my game dev thing on the side. Of like I was doing Unreal and Unity stuff, and I was like, oh, I don't need Dreams, like whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and so like the thing that I was actually excited about with Dreams was just the fact that I liked Little Big Planet so much, and even after my creation days in Little Big Planet, I had gotten back into it mainly for speedrunning, and so like with the speedrunning stuff, I had helped like build this Little Big Planet speedrunning community, um, and like it's what got me into streaming. It helped me get over like my social anxiety and stuff because I was talking to strangers on the internet every time I streamed and did these
Yeah.
speedruns and stuff. It got to a point where I could go to a GDQ and like speedrun the game in front of 70,000 people or however many were watching
You
and
did
like
that?
have it be totally fine. Yeah, a few times actually. I speedran all the LBP game or 1, 2, and 3 at different GDQs.
Wow.
Uh,
How
but yeah,
did
so like by the time Dreams was coming out, I was like, oh, it's another Media Molecule game that I can speedrun. Like I'm just gonna speedrun like user creations and keep like streaming that. It's like infinite content. But then I tried the tools and I was like, I want to make stuff now. I don't want to speedrun anymore.
what clicked for you? Was it the speed that you could create something at? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it was like uh, I think like when I started in the beta, I'd messed around and made like Meow Mix and stuff. And then when I had learned enough that I decided I wanted to make an actual game, I started working on Gold Valley, and just the speed at which I was able to block out the hub environment with like the rocks surrounding and like the grass and like the golden pillar in the middle, and just like be able to stand in that and look at it and have it not look terrible
yeah.
was like completely mind-blowing to me, like the speed at which I was able to do that, and also the fact that like I tried sculpting a rock and I was like it's not quite right, and then realizing like I can just get a rock from the community. Like it's that easy. I can just click the search, type in rock, and grab a rock, and it's
Yeah.
like I was like, oh my god, this is like a billion times better than Unreal or Unity, like to use.
How
So that was what hooked me, was like the community asset stuff and just like the speed of everything else.
how long do you think it took you to make your first Dreams game, Gold Valley, versus how long do you think that would take you to make the same exact game in a different engine?
So I actually have a case study for that because of Sensorium, because Gold Valley is actually Sensorium's alpha, pretty much. Like Gold
Oh,
Valley was what I was going to make to learn Unreal before scope creep happened and it turned into like an actual big game.
interesting.
So when I got around to like making something in Dreams, I was like, what do I make? Oh, I could just like take the original idea for Sensorium and make that. Um, and
The
so when I was gonna make it in Unreal, I planned for that to take like a few months, I think. And I ended up doing it in like largely 3 days in Dreams.
wow.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that is Dreams and how much of it is because I had learned a lot of game dev stuff since I started with Unreal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
that's
yeah,
like that's an engine. I mean, that it's a stark contrast in either case, but that's an engine that you have experience in, taking a few months versus an engine that was complete. I mean, there's a little LBP crossover, right? Like, so you had an
yeah,
idea of how some of the gadgets worked and things, uh, but a totally new engine, and you made a game in 3 days. That is bonkers still to hear.
yeah. To be fair, also I was like no lifing Dreams when it came out, so I think I was probably spending like 10-hour days on it
Same.
or more.
Same,
I don't
except
know.
I was remixing Dreamiverse Dash to learn
Oh,
how things worked instead of making a cool puzzle game in 3 days.
right.
But we all got to start somewhere.
Of course.
Well, Lena's back. How's it going, Lena? She's always got to. She's always got something to say when she stops by. I'm interested to hear more about the speedrunning community. How did you? Where did that come from? Did you stumble into? What did that look like in its early stages?
I got into it before like there was one particular year where like AGDQ got really big and speedrunning started to like take off as this really popular thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what got me started was a little before that. I saw like a segmented speedrun of Portal.
Hmm.
Um, and they just absolutely destroyed the game and it like I didn't know what I was watching, but they also released a commentary where they went through and explained all the tricks and like demonstrated them and stuff. And watching that and realizing how it all worked was just like super interesting to me. Um, and so I went on and like looked up every game I owned and looked up a speedrun of it to see what kind of things they broke and how like all the stuff actually worked and how they could exploit it and stuff. And going down the list, I got to Little Big Planet and there was no speedrun. And I was like, what? It's like a physics based game. How could there not be a speedrun of this? Like, physics based games are always crazy to speedrun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do it. I'm going to speedrun it. So I did that, and it was super fun. And I just like kept doing it for way too many years.
So did that the community sort of for Little Big Planet speedrunning form around GDQ?
It formed around it. So I had started speedrunning it, like just individual levels of it, and like making a route and stuff. And I think someone else, who goes by Brosentia, he he did like the first full game run, um, using some of his own strategies and like some of the stuff that I had posted that I had figured out. And so he had the first world record, and then some other guy came along whose name is PPJ, and he was like, "I want to beat this record. Does anyone want to like do another pass through like the story mode with me to see if there's anything else cool we can find to like bring the time down lower?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And
Oh,
so
so a
he and I
co-op
started.
speedrun.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really co-op. We just like kind of went online and like experimented with stuff together. So it was like a collaborative experimentation. Like, and then eventually he went back and like speedran it by himself. Um, but yeah, so I met him through that, and he and I played the game a lot together, and like would race, and uh, he and I had like sort of a like a competitive kind of thing going on where like he would lower the time and then I would lower it and then he would lower it and we would both stream and people would come into our stream and be like, oh, this looks cool, and then like a few people would trickle into the community that way. We'd post our PBs on Reddit and some people would like come in through that, and then eventually like we
PBs?
had
Personal bests?
personal best, yeah. Sorry.
There's a lot of acronyms in video gaming.
Yeah. But at some point we had like a Skype group of like 30 or 40 people. And then eventually we all moved to Discord because that was the more of the gamer kind of community thing. But yeah, and then when the GDQ happened, that boosted the community a bit, and also PPJ hosted like a speedrunning contest, and that brought in a lot of LBP like casual people into speedrunning as well.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's just grown. Like I'm not that involved anymore, but I think there's something like, let me check. Yeah, there's like 230 or 240 people in that Discord now.
Oh wow.
Um, but yeah,
Do you
at a
have
certain
any?
point, it was very natural growth. I think after like PPJ and I sort of kickstarted it.
Do you have any scores that are still standing as records?
I think there's like one category that like I'm the only person to have done, but all of my like serious attempts people have already beaten. I think,
Yeah.
except for I think LBP2 co-op, people are gonna have trouble beating because the LBP servers are not up anymore on PS3.
Oh, so
But
can you
if
not
anyone,
Can you not even play it co-op?
yeah, no, I mean, unless anyone decides to like get together locally and do it, but
That's got to be a safer record.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, everyone got really good at the game. So I think for the main category for LBP1, which was what I spent the most time in, I'm in like 6th place now.
Is that for the whole game? Doing a full game playthrough?
Yeah,
Wow. How long
yeah.
does it take to do a full speed run?
The world record's like 53 minutes or something, or 54 minutes. Last I checked, I think my PB, my personal best, is like 55 minutes.
Nice. Did you ever get into speed running other games, or did you kind of just get settled in with Little Big Planet?
Uh, yeah, like casually. Like I speedran The Witness a bit, but I wasn't very competitive. Right, I had the world record in like specifically the challenge, which is like this. It's like this string of like randomly generated puzzles near the end of the game, and like just at that, I had the world record for a little bit, but like that's also been beaten by quite a bit, I think. Um, but yeah, like I speedran the full game a little bit too. I speedran Antichamber a little bit. I went back and speedran Lego Racers because I felt like that game deserved to have a speedrun, and that was another one that like I couldn't find one until I had started doing it.
Nice.
Uh,
The
but yeah,
Witness
like
is a
Little
weird
Big Planet
game.
was very
The Witness sounds
little.
like a weird game to speedrun. Like a game that your initial playthrough is more defined by how long it takes you to learn a solution. And then going through with all the solutions and speedrunning. What did you find interesting about speedrunning that game?
It's very relaxing. Like even though you know all the solutions already, it's just like it's very zen, like going from puzzle to puzzle and just like mousing in the solution as fast as you can, then going to the next one, mousing it in, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just very zen. Um, for like the challenge, which was the thing I did, that being randomly generated meant that you had to be good at actually solving the puzzles. So that was the appeal to me for that. I think these days there's actually a randomizer for the game too, so you can play through the entire game with randomized puzzles, and their
Whoa.
runs of that are really fun as well.
So you were speedrunning the challenge. So the challenge, that's the bit at the end where it kind of takes you through a tour of all the things you've learned and with random puzzles.
Yeah, or at least some selection of the things you've learned, and you have to do it in like 6.5 minutes, otherwise they all reset.
Now, did they put that after like the main ending? Was that like a
Yeah,
secondary goal?
it was off to the side somewhere.
I think I never beat that, and I still feel
Oh,
a tinge of regret when I think about it.
It's really fun.
You know what the problem was? I set it down for a couple weeks. I was like, that game, I really enjoyed that game. But by the time I got to the ending, I was like, okay, I want to go, I don't know, I want to go shoot some stuff, or I don't know what I did. But I came back a couple weeks later. I was like, all right, I'm going to try this out. And I had already forgotten how to do some of the puzzles. And it just felt too frustrating to do the mental calisthenics to get myself back there. But that's a game that almost anyone who's a fan of puzzle games will mention these days.
Yeah.
How long have you been a fan of puzzle games? Because a lot of the games you make in Dreams and the game Sensorium we were talking about, they are puzzle games. What was your inroads to designing those?
I'm trying to remember. I think probably what got me started on it was like Portal and Braid.
Mm-hmm.
Those were two just like really like mind-bending sort of puzzle games. Like one of them manipulating time, and one of them with like the portals and like
Yeah.
spatial reasoning and that kind of stuff. And in college, uh, I would just try to find as many like first-person puzzle games on Steam as I could, and I would like play through them in a weekend and stuff. I think the thing that got me into designing them though was like being such a huge fan of Braid and sort of being on the edge of my seat waiting for The Witness to come out. Because of that, like I watched a lot of talks by Jonathan Blow, who gives a lot of like game design talks, many of which had to do with puzzle design. And I just found that really interesting, like especially one of the things he talked about a lot being like nonverbal communication, and how you can sort of teach people things just by giving them like a string of carefully designed like gameplay sequences. And that I think is what opened my eyes a lot to like how game design really worked. Or at least like some aspect of it. I still think even after all these years, I'm like still kind of a game design amateur. But yeah, I think like Jonathan Blow was a pretty big inspiration as far as like puzzle design went. And that's kind of what got me into making my own puzzle games and like taking game design in general more seriously than I had when I was like making like crappy game maker games as a kid.
Yeah. I remember Braid. I think I played it on an Xbox 360. And that was a mind bender. Braid and Portal both the ones you mentioned were very impactful when I played them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really felt like I was playing with something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We've talked about speed running. We got into streaming a little bit. Hey, do you have any? You know what? Before we go deep into the world of Dreams,
Mm-hmm.
do you? I'm going to say, do you want to take? No, we're going to take a short break. We're going to have a short intermission, so I can top off this coffee. And I made like a 40-minute video clip of some of your Dream stuff last night. Just playing through some stuff. And that was the thing I forgot. When I had that forgetting something feeling before the podcast, which I always do, that was the thing that I forgot. So when we get back from the break, I'm going to see if I can drop that into OBS real quick and get that playing, while we chat. So I'm going to mute you here and make you disappear on the screen. And be back in just a few minutes. All right. So you cannot hear the guest on the stream. I made that mistake in the last episode.
3.
Let me give you. Boy, let's just go back for some tunes. How about that? A Song a Day album by Orion Valentine. We're back in space, but will there be sausages? Stay tuned and find out. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back in a minute. Thanks, everybody. One last interruption. I really do need a revolving door. Meow. Meow. I really do. Are you gonna... Excuse me. Are you gonna hang for a minute? Here, why don't you sit? Let's see how that goes. All right, I believe we are ready to re-embark on our dream quest here. Yeah. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hi, we're back from a break. If you were watching live, you got to see all sorts of neato behind the scenes stuff, letting a cat in, fixing the scene in OBS, dealing with technical issues. It was very entertaining. And Chancellor Jellyfish, we've gone this far and we haven't talked a whole lot about dreams.
True.
Perhaps we should go there. So you are starting work as a molecule very, very soon.
Yeah. So I want to put out this disclaimer that like my first day is tomorrow. So I'm still very much speaking as community member RbdJellyfish, not media molecule RbdJellyfish. So don't try to read into like anything I'm saying for like hints about future stuff, because I would like to not accidentally get fired before I start. So
I mean, it would be a hell of a story.
Yeah, not in my favor though. No. Yeah, let's not get RBD fired today. We could talk about lots of dreams things, just not things that we don't know about anyways. Yeah.
So what can you tell me about applying for a job with Media Molecule and going through the interview process? Whatever you're comfortable revealing from that, I'd love to hear about.
Yeah, what even happened? So I think actually Emberg's messaged me one of the positions. He messaged me a link to one of the positions and was like, "Oh, are you interested in this kind of thing? Because like I know you're a programmer." I was like, "Yeah, but like they only hire UK," and he was like, "No, they're hiring remote now." And I was like, "Well, dang." Now I actually have to like think about applying, because Media Molecule had already been like one of my dream jobs for a while.
Yeah.
It just never quite felt like something I'd ever be able to get. And even reaching out to apply, it did not feel like something I was ready for. But then I kind of realized I was never going to feel ready for it. Like it being a dream job and stuff, it was always going to feel out of reach. So I was like, I'm going to throw together a cover letter and update my resume and stuff and my website, and I'm just going to go for it. And then they responded like relatively quickly, like just a few days. And I started going through the process, like talking to people and doing the take-home programming test, which was fun.
And what was the position called?
As creator toolset programmer. So I'm going to be working on like the creation tools, I guess.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So were there a lot of stages in the process? I mean, like you said, this is I have applied for a job at MM, and going into that, I was definitely thinking, oh, fat chance. This is about as competitive about as competitive as it gets. And I know, like, just existing in this community, I am surrounded by people who constantly make me feel humble about my own abilities.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
there's someone
same.
in this community who can do everything I do. I mean, there's individuals who can do each thing that I do better than I can, like 100%.
Yeah, and like going through the process, it was weird at first because like having only done game dev as a hobby and mainly being like an enterprise sort of programmer type guy. Um, my previous job was at Google, so it was very not game devy type work. So going into the interview, I was like, oh, they're gonna ask all these like game programming type questions that I'm not gonna know, and like because I've only been doing it as a hobby, but like I realized like my years of hobby experience did actually give me enough to be able to answer the kinds of things they were throwing at me, and I was like, wait, I actually like I might actually be ready for this job. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Can you give us any examples of questions they threw at you?
I'd rather not,
Sure.
because
Draw the
yeah,
line anywhere here.
yeah. I mean, because so like I said, I was at Google previously, and I was trained to give interviews for that as well, and I know they were very keen about like keeping their interview questions and stuff secret, because if something gets
Yeah.
leaked, that's extra stuff people can prepare for, and then
Right,
you just
right.
gotta like ban the question, and then like their interviewers can't ask it, and they gotta go find another question that they can ask, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I can like outline the process, I guess. So like after I applied, one of their recruiters reached out to me and basically uh, it was sort of like a screening sort of thing. Like, why do you want the job? Are you really passionate for this? Do you know like basic technical stuff like you say on your resume? Yes, good. Okay, now you can talk to the team lead of the team you'll be joining. Similar kind of interview, but more technical questions. And then after that was the take home test, which was fun, which was just like a couple programming problems that I had to complete on my own time. And then after that was a technical interview where I got on a call with the team lead for where I'd be joining and the tech lead, and we sort of talked about the take home test I did. And my thought process and like a few other technical questions after that. And I got to talk to production for like team fit kind of stuff, like strengths and weaknesses, all that. And then and then I got to talk to David Smith, who's one of the founders, and I had a blast with that because that was we basically just talked about programming and game dev and game design and video games in general for like an hour.
Yeah.
So, like that one, I forgot it was an interview. I was just like having a chat with him.
Those are the best. Those are the best. I've only been there like once, in a job interview where I'm like just having a conversation and it feels wonderful.
Yeah, it was having previously been at Google where like they get so many applicants they can't afford to not have a super stressful like high pressure interview.
Yeah.
Like at Google, it's literally like the first stage is you get on a phone call and you have 45 minutes to do a programming problem in like a Google Doc, while the person on the phone is watching everything you type and stuff. And then if that goes well, they bring you on site and do that basically 5 times in a row in person, 5 different problems, 45 minutes each.
Wow.
And it's pretty intense. And so comparatively, like the media molecule one felt equally, if not more challenging, but also less intimidating because I could do it on my own time. And every stage just felt like I was kind of like chatting with people about things. It didn't feel like an interrogation. It just felt like an actual like conversation.
That's very cool.
So it was cool.
How do you? I think someone in chat asked if you're prepared. Yeah, Slurm McKenzie wants to know if you're ready to live on the EU time zone.
I wish I could say I was, but I'm gonna have to like take a sledgehammer to the face the first couple weeks and
Hmm.
just start forcing myself to wake up early until I adjust.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am not, but I may have to start.
So what time? You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
What time? Your time? Do you need to be waking up in order to do this job?
So it's a 5 hour difference. So given like standard work hours, it would probably be like 3 or 4 in the morning. Um, but I'm not sure. I know they're also very flexible, so I may not have to do that long term. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something that I'm gonna find out.
When I was putting
Very
together
quick.
an application for a job at MM, that was that was, that was the most difficult thing to consider. If I get this job, I'm going to have to wake up around the time I like to fall asleep.
Yeah.
That is not easy for me. Not
Yeah.
easy at all.
I think when I applied, I was waking up at like 1 or 2 p.m. every day, um, and then I brought it down. Like I woke up today at 7 in the morning, so I still got a few hours to go, but I start tomorrow, so not a lot of time left to adjust my sleep.
Yeah. That first day, I find that first day of like absolutely no sleep, you can get by on adrenaline. Your body's
Yeah,
got what it takes.
I feel like I'm excited enough that I'll be able to coast through like the first few days. I
That
hope.
too. That too.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a lot of videos? Like you're going to sit down and there's going to be like an old, scratchy, grainy video of like Alex Evans in a jumpsuit from 2008.
I hope so.
Oh, it'll be easy to stay awake for that.
Yeah.
Mrs. Biones says, but now we never sleep, Keld, so you'd be good. I know. Like I'm up taking care of a baby at 4 a.m. I might as well, be doing a job as well. So Google, I'm curious. How long have you worked? Did you work at Google for?
3 years and 9 months or 10 months, something like that. Um,
And you said you described what you're doing as more enterprise coding. So I mean, it's what
kind
would
of.
you
So
call
I was
that?
working on like developer tools pretty much the whole time I was there. Like I
Oh, so
started out
that's
doing
yeah,
some open source stuff, and then I think my last year and a half or so, I was working on like more infrastructure kind of things, but still like things other Google developers were using like for their own stuff.
interesting. Developer tools. That sounds like it might overlap a little with your new role, working on the creator tool set in Dreams.
A little bit.
Is there any parts of your experience that you think will be especially helpful?
Uh, Other than like the general like software engineering experience, I know Google like has to care a lot about like scale. And given the way like Media Molecule has been growing a lot recently and how they have such a long-term plan for Dreams, I imagine that's going to be important. Just like thinking long-term about how to maintain things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like the actual overlap between the two projects, I think, is pretty small. Um,
Now, as a person who with no programming background, designing working on the creation side of Dreams sounds really intimidating. I feel like I understand just enough to be intimidated. Like it's the fact that you're making a tool that then someone else is using to make a piece of software, and I mean that means that when you make a change to that tool, like there are things that you are committed to in a way that are very hard to take back, right? Like
but
once a change
even
goes out, like and people
you
have used
know,
it.
yeah, if we change something that people are using, that could potentially break like a bunch of creations. So like probably got to be pretty careful, I imagine.
Yeah. definitely. Let's see. I'm curious about what you think are, I don't know, maybe we covered this a little bit already, but from a programmer's perspective, I'm curious just to hear your take on what are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of Dreams.
I think so. Compared to something like Unity or Unreal, the way things are architected, I feel like you don't always have the information you need at hand to do certain things. And when I say information, I don't mean like documentation or something. I mean like, uh, I want to change the color of this thing. Um, in something like Dreams, where all you got to do is like take a wire from like the color output of something, or take a wire from somewhere and plug it into the color input of something somewhere else. It's like super easy, because everything has access to everything else in Dreams as long as there's a wire input or output. But in something like Unreal or Unity, that can be like this huge hassle because you got to like, I don't know, if you want to change the color of something, you got to uh, figure out how to talk to the shader and like getting the like you get the shader through the material or like I don't know. It's like it's this whole like depth of knowledge you need just to like be able to navigate to like change something that like ostensibly is really simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Dreams, it's just like, oh, I want to do this thing. I just took a wire up to it, and now I can change it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely my favorite thing, I think.
Yeah, I really do love the way you can take any variable's the wrong word. Any, I don't know, any, you could take any piece of information, anything with a node on it. Like everything is tweakable, via panels, and there's nodes for practically every piece of data about the thing you're tweaking. And the fact that you can connect, something from the music to, just right into the logic, super, super inspiring for
Yeah,
creativity.
there's like
I don't know
this.
what I'm trying to say. That's the
There's
lack
like
of
this
sleep.
with programming. There's sort of this like, I don't know if fear is the right word, or like it's generally bad practice to make variables like global everywhere. But in Dreams, like everything is basically global. Like you can change anything from anywhere.
Yeah,
Whereas in
yeah.
programming, it's like you kind of want to compartmentalize things a certain way, especially because if you're doing like multi-threading and stuff, and two things are trying to change the variable from like different CPUs on the hardware, then that runs into issues. And so like you have to architect your thing so that like not everything can access everything else, but then sometimes you really want it to, and then it's just like kind of a pain. And I don't know, but like with like logic in Dreams, you don't really have that problem so much. Um, so that's nice.
Absolutely. We're looking at on the screen right now. There's a game called Pew, and I have to apologize. I went to create this reel for last night. Like I think it's like 3 a.m. Baby is sleeping, and I've got the baby monitor here, and I'm just waiting to see how long is this. How long am I going to be able to play these games before I get pulled away? And it occurred to me while I'm playing some of these games that I'm gonna spoil them. I'm gonna spoil them real easy. Spoil a Punchline of Pew, Galaxy Cadet.
That's fine. They've been out for a while.
Looking across your games, there's quite a variety. I tend to think about you as someone who makes puzzle games, probably because the more polished and ambitious stuff that you've made in Dreams more often falls into that. I mean, you've made 5 of the Gold Valley games, right?
Yeah.
And is there a 6th one of those coming?
Yeah, I actually just started it the other day.
In
I
private,
don't
or
know when
are you
it'll
working
be.
on this on stream?
I worked on it a bit on stream, but I don't know if I'm gonna like. I don't know. I don't really have much of a schedule for it. I'm just gonna work on it when I can, and it's going to be a while because I think it's a little more ambitious than the other Gold Valley games, and it's like the finale of the at least this story arc. So things like the animations and special effects and like the art and stuff is going to be a little, hopefully a little better than like the previous games. But yeah, I have like most of the gameplay section blocked out already, so it's coming along, I guess.
How would you describe this series of games to someone who hasn't played them?
I don't know. It's it's just a simple first person puzzle game with sort of a comedic story, lighthearted kind of thing going on. I like I said, I started the series just because I wanted to learn how to make dreams, and it was an idea I had laying around for that I was going to use to learn a different engine. And then I think what made me do Gold Valley 2 was basically while learning some logic in the beta, I made some like laser reflection demo. And I was like, I want to put this in a game. It could be a puzzle game, maybe. Oh, people liked Gold Valley, I'll do Gold Valley 2. And so I like figured out a way to extend the story a little bit. And each game after that has ended on a cliffhanger, and then I pick it up in the next one, and then like the way the story goes usually like feeds into how the gameplay works for that game. And so I don't know, like describing what it is to other people is weird because like I don't think about the series that way. It's usually just like I kind of just do what I think is interesting.
It seems like a convenient playground to do whatever seems interesting to you in the moment.
Yeah,
like something you can kind of fit
like most
anything
of
into.
I feel like that's most of my dreams creations is I just kind of do something that I think is cool and then I like release it. Which like it kind of goes back to my game maker days in a way where it's like I can relax a little bit. I don't have to try so hard as I am when I'm releasing something on Steam where I have to think about the audience and whether it's going to sell or whatever like so much. I can just like make something silly real quick in dreams and then release it, and if people like it, cool. If they don't, like they don't have to. I don't know. So yeah, I think like my only really try hard thing is probably a little perspective. Maybe Galaxy Cadet as well, but everything else is kind of like I just make it for fun.
Little Perspective came out really polished. So Little Perspective, that is a hard game to describe without looking at it. So I'm going to ask you to do it.
Oh no. I mean, it's a game where you control this little red cube, and basically, if it looks like you can move somewhere, then you can move somewhere. So you can rotate the camera around to line up different pieces of the floor that allow you to like walk across and cross gaps and stuff. So it plays a lot with like impossible spaces and forms puzzles around them. Yeah, and it's this whole metaphor for like it has the narration that's all about like having an idea and being able to communicate it and reacting to people that don't see it eye to eye, and I don't know.
Was this an idea that kind of was born out of dreams, or was it an idea you had that you then thought, I should do it here?
It was I was thinking about a different game actually called Echochrome that came out on the PS3 that did like a similar thing where you rotate a camera and try to make things line up to look a certain way, and then you can do stuff. But it operates very differently. But I was just thinking about like from a programming perspective, how would a game like that even work? And like in thinking about that, I came up with an idea about how it might work. And then I was like, wait, everything in my idea is actually like a gadget in Dream. So I could totally do this if I tried. And I tried it, and it was like really cool to mess around with. So I turned it into like a full thing.
Yeah. I really enjoyed watching you do some of that on stream, and just learning how you pulled it off. I mean, basically, it's like a little array of laser scopes around the camera, and it can tell from your perspective whether that red cube should be able to roll onto something that looks to be adjacent, whether it is or not.
Yeah. It like basically simulates your eyesight. Like it literally shoots a laser out from the camera and looks at the points where it's trying to test if you can move there or not.
Which is a very like physical, like I don't know. It feels like a very, I don't know, tactile like way to create this game. If you had created this same project in another engine, do you think the tactic would have been at all similar?
Maybe. I don't know, because actually, like part of the reason the game was designed the way it is because of the way I wanted to make it in Dreams. Like I intentionally made it only 4 camera angles instead of like a freely rotating camera. And it being a cube that rotates helps mask the effect of like teleporting across gaps and stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'd tried to do it in a different engine, it might not have even looked the same as like it does in the Dreams version. Because I might have like decided I wanted to design the game a certain way because like I had a different technical idea or something.
Right.
I don't know if that really answers your question. Like I had like 1 or 2 other ideas of how it might be able to work, but it was very vague and like kind of mathy.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking like taking the 3D space and projecting it down into 2D or something, and then like simulating the game in 2D and then re-projecting it out into 3D or something.
Well, that sounds complex.
But I don't even know. Yeah, like I would have to like really get into it to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I would have imagined, again, as someone with no programming background, I would have imagined it would have been some arcane math solution, like some formula that some equation that I'd never heard of that could tell whether these things would align from a perspective but yeah, doing it with cameras and some laser scopes is it's really impressive to see it to see it come together, and it was really fun. I actually did one of the community levels for that. I'm sorry. We should sometimes. I should now that we're like, I don't know, a year out or whatever. I should force myself to solve my own one on stream.
True.
It was really fun. Go ahead.
You're not the only one to make like ridiculously hard levels. Like I fell into that trap with like the end game as well, with like the
3D levels
level content. Yeah, like that. Looking back, like looking at the completion rate of the game, I feel like I should have just cut all of that and replaced it with something that was like a little easier to like map in your head.
Yeah.
Just because spatially, once things start rotating on the 3rd dimension, it's just like super hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, if I got to be honest, you lost me on the 3D ones. Like I was impressed and intrigued, but frustrated. Like I'm a really visual person, and like just like you said, it's the first few legs of the game bend your brain, around backwards in all these different ways, and then by the time that very large wrinkle of now you can rotate in 3 dimensions, by the time you throw that in, I went from feeling like I had really accomplished something, beating those, the first few sets of levels, to feeling like just the biggest dummy. Like there's no way I could understand.
Yeah,
I'll never get there.
It's frustrating watching people play it too, because like at this point I know it was a mistake to like put something that hard in it's not even that it's hard, it's like it's way more of a valid solution to just like sit there and brute force it, right?
Yeah.
And that's not good. Like it might be better if brute forcing weren't an option and you actually had to reason it out. But the fact that brute forcing is an option and that's how people beat the levels is like not good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it
it's
becomes a
just
lot less interesting at that point.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I had ideas for like a sequel maybe, but
4 dimensions? Is that
no.
I mean, you have to escalate.
I mean, I don't mind sharing the idea because I really don't know if I'm ever going to get around to it. But like, I was thinking, like having blocks that you could push that also obey the perspective rules. So you
Oh.
could line up the camera a certain way and push the block across a gap if it looks like there's no gap there. And
Huh.
then you could like also stand on the blocks you pushed, or even like I could even imagine like the elevators that you can stand on and stuff. Maybe the blocks could even be pushed by those elevators somehow. Or,
Yeah.
but yeah, just the thought of the logic for that made me like, oh god,
That sounds
uh,
scary.
yeah.
It does
So
sound like a more it sounds like a I immediately want to interact with that versus when I think about the 3D puzzles, I'm still afraid and pee my pants
yeah,
a little bit.
I think rather than a sequel, if I had that block pushing idea and I just replaced that ending 3D flippy stuff with that, I think it would have been like much stronger.
Yeah. For anyone who's not aware, there are remixable templates for. I'm looking at a whole collection here of community levels that RBD has put together by all sorts of people. There are a ton of them here. And so yeah, this crazy weird setup we're talking about with the rolling cubes and the perspectives. You can make your own level, and it's kind of easy. I wouldn't say it's easy to make a good one.
Not if you make push blocks, but
Yeah. But no, it's he made it really easy. You can just start cloning stuff on the grid, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to put together. I went through a bunch of iterations of mine before I finished it, and I think I like that I made one. Okay, it's not as bad as it could have been. I'm going to say that because originally I thought it would be funny. See, I wanted to make one that kind of had a weird linearity to it. Like you're kind of going in one direction. You're traveling in one direction, which is weird and feels kind of antithetical maybe to the game itself. But I thought that was an interesting starting point. So I made one that kind of was like a road, and there are a bunch of switches that you have to hit, like triggers you have to hit, so that when you get to the end, you can actually cross the finish line. And my original idea was to make it so that you got to the end and you learned at the end that you did not need to hit. Actually, you needed to avoid all the switches that you went out of your way to step on, or make it so that you had to like skip one of them. Like if you got every single one, it would move the block. This is I just wanted to troll people. I guess that was my mood at the time.
I think I remember talking to you about that too.
I think your response when I said I was thinking about this, I think your response was friendly.
It was probably something along the lines of like, "That's hilarious, but also really mean."
Yeah, no, I think you gave me an honest answer that was part of what led me to not do that. My level was mean enough just because it was really difficult, and if I want to play critic to my level, I think if I could go back and change something, I would try and make multiple paths. I think that would make it more interesting. I think there's zero or very few opportunities for doing it more than one way. Like once you've kind of done it, you've probably done it the optimal way. And I think it could be more interesting, especially since the game counts your moves per level, and that's what that's how it tracks the scoreboards. I think it would be a lot more interesting if I had made some shortcuts in there, or just made some alternate paths, so you had a little more choice instead of. I imagine most people end up sort of just brute forcing that. Like you just play around until you hammer your way through. Animation B says Keld's level is the only one I haven't finished.
Oh no.
But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun putting that one together. Boy, you have been so. The good Chancellor first came to my attention on Twitch because I think I've said this a bunch, but in that 1 week where you could stream the beta of Dreams, the beta of Dreams went on for, I don't know, it was more than 4 weeks. I think they extended it 2 weeks also, but
It's like December 18th to
it's like February 4th, maybe
something like that.
But they surprised us, and 1 week before it was over, they said, "Hey, the NDA is up. You can talk about this. You can stream it. You can do whatever you want." And I had been personally wanting to stream Dreams since I heard about Dreams, and so I was hanging out on Twitch a lot that week, and I remember seeing you and Acert and Kamau and Lombax Pie Boy. I remember seeing all of you. I remember also feeling like, oh wow, who's this guy? Like, he seems like he already has a little community going here. Like, you had a bunch of people hanging out in your chat, probably from, LBP stuff or.
Yeah, I think it was probably that. Like, I had a lot of LBP followers, or not a lot, but like, I had a decent amount and probably got a boost when the NDA dropped. Just because like a lot of them were probably curious, like a lot of non-regular viewers were probably curious about like Dreams, having been like interested in Little Big Planet and stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember I was averaging like 30 viewers or so each stream during that week, I think.
It was a weird week. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had, I think I had my peak, or maybe it was in the first week of early access launch. It was one of those two, like the last week of the beta or the first week of early access. I think I had like 55 people watching me sculpt a pizza, and I'm like, and like it's week one of early access, and I'm thinking like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. Fast forward 2 weeks and it's down to like 11 viewers average for the next month. But that first week was kind of nuts. And Kamau's in the chat. Fond memories of the beta crew.
The beta was so cozy. Like, like the quality of Dreams creations has gotten so high recently that I feel like a lot of that pressure that I felt from other engines of like having to make something good that a lot of people like is still there. Like, I have to actively ignore that pressure now if I just want to have fun making something and publishing whatever. Whereas in the beta, it was like nobody knew what they were doing, so everybody was just publishing silly stuff. And so it was like, and it was a very small like community, so everybody could play everything, and so in a way, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
And so, and it was like winter holiday time, so it was like extra cozy.
It was super cozy. I remember I brought my PlayStation over to my brother's house for Christmas, and I remember I'm still so excited about Dreams. I'm like, oh, look at this thing, everyone. I gotta show you what I've been doing. This thing is so. I remember all these flat. The responses were so flat. It's like, you don't understand. I need to go back to my Dreams family on Twitch.
I showed a couple of my friends the Dreams beta, and like, even though back then the creations weren't very high quality, we were like sitting there playing stuff, and they were actually mind blown because they were like, dude, this is like YouTube like levels of cool, like early YouTube levels of cool.
Yeah. I remember back to the beta. I like that I remember more than one of your creations. And I like that they gave me very different reactions. In the first like day or two, I remember like Dreams beta launches, and I'm trying to figure out. I think I did all the tutorials. I think I did like 4 hours of tutorials because I'm like, I'm gonna learn this, buckle down. By the time I actually got around to sculpting and painting and things, I had forgotten everything I learned in those tutorials because all I wanted to do was like design something. I just wanted to figure out how do I get in here and and design something. But in those first few days, I remember checking to see what people were publishing, and I saw your Meow Mix. And forgive me, I've said this before. I just want it on more permanent record. But
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
But I remember seeing this this Meow Mix. It's this little hillside, like this crudely carved out hillside with these very very crude cats, very crudely animated, and just a little song made of meows. And it was just a fun little silly thing. But I remember seeing that and going, what? Why didn't you wait and publish something good? Like, I'm going to try and make something good before I publish it. What does this person think they're doing? Just like, you could just publish anything?
Keld, it's a classic now, though. You don't understand.
Now I understand.
Absolute classic.
At the time, I did not understand. But now, Lena's here. She heard us talking about Meow Mix. But now I understand. But I really appreciate now. I did not know that was you until later on, until like after the beta was done, like in early access. At some point I realized, oh, you're the person who did that thing. The other big surprise was Purple Pants Dance. That came out, and I was more impressed by Purple Pants Dance, and then very surprised later to learn that was Mark Healy that made Purple Pants Dance in the first
I did not know that at the time.
Yeah,
I don't think I learned that until like pretty recently. That was Mark
That
Healy.
tickled me. But
the pretty funny.
Hold on, gotta let the kitty out. Indecisive kitty. But the other game, I don't remember playing Gold Valley in the beta, but I do remember playing Quantum Donut.
I always forget I made that.
Yeah. And I remember like my reaction to that one was the opposite. It was instead of like, it was, who's this show off? Who do you think you are, like designing complex mechanics in this thing that just came out and putting me to shame? I don't even know how to make something a side scroller yet. Like that was like one of the big mysteries in the first couple weeks to a lot of people was like, how do I make a side-scrolling platformer? I can't figure it out. And I remember, I think Bogdan published a little template that you could just plug into. But
yeah, Quantum Donut was like, I feel like it didn't age very well. Like it was cool at the time, but now it's like not that good. Like if I were to ever revisit it, it's been so long and I just never felt like revisiting it. If I were to revisit it, I would just like completely start over.
It felt like a good...
Maybe even make it like a 3D platformer instead of 2D, because I think that'd be cooler.
Yeah. It felt like a good tech demo. It felt like, it was really inspiring to see, at that early stage what, an interesting mechanic like that. The Quantum Donut, it was just a puppet that you eat this donut and then you can either be a normal sized person or a big old.
Yeah, it was a donut that made you both fat and not fat at the same time. When you transformed into fat, you could roll down hills and stuff, and you could like weigh things down, and you could, I think if you held the jump button, you could bounce. I think some button combination, I think the logic behind it was if you went from fat to not fat and like held a certain button combination, it would like give you a speed boost, because it was like converting your mass into kinetic energy or something. Like that was the logic behind it. I don't know if that holds up at all. If there were such thing as a quantum donut, I don't know if that holds up at all.
Emberg says, wait, that was RBD? Indeed it was.
It was, yeah.
Indeed it was. I'm gonna ask you and chat to forgive me. I think I'm doing too good a job hydrating today. I need a quick bathroom break. I'm just gonna be straightforward about it. I'm gonna disappear for just a minute again, and you are all going to kindly wait, and give me big hugs when I get back. I don't need the hugs. I just don't know what else to say. I'll be right back. I was today years old when I learned RBD made the fashion show game. I have to say, like, there's definitely there are style. There are similarities in style across your games, but there's a lot of variety there. Like, I mean, I'm looking at these things. I was saying earlier, I think of you as a person who makes puzzle games, and then I'm looking at everything here, and I don't know, less than half of these are puzzle games. You've got a platformer, a weird platformer. You've got the You Are All That Is Left and Battle for the Throne that are like I don't know if you'd call that a hack and slash, but
sort of Soulsy kind of thing.
Yeah. Definitely a fashion show. I don't even know what kind of game that is. Good Dog. It seems like you really embrace. You're really good at wrapping your head around an idea and running with it. Do most of these games come from like a single spark? Like, I think this would be an interesting thing to play with in game design, and then you kind of go from there.
I think there are like 3 categories of. Or wait, is it even 3? I don't know. They all come from different places. Like, so some of them, it's like definitely a fashion show, for example, and I think the Slap Fight game, Slap Fight Supreme, I think is what it's called, or something like that. I don't actually remember what that one's called, but both of those were literally like just putting down a puppet, turning my brain off, and just messing around with logic. I think I was working on You Are All That Is Left, and I took a break, and I put down a puppet, made it T-pose, and then unhooked all the controller sensor stuff and just hooked them all up to keyframes that move different limbs. And so I just like made the controls without even thinking about what kind of game it would be. And then later on, when I finished You Are All That Is Left, I made definitely a fashion show from that just like kind of mess around session. So like the Dreams tools are like that, like I can't remember words. They don't
Words
get in the
are
way
hard.
at all. Like they just let you do whatever, and the fact that they're so non-obstructive, I guess, means you can literally sit down and turn off your brain if you're comfortable enough with the tools and just like make something.
Yeah.
And so like definitely a fashion show that was just like messing around with logic, and then a game came out of it. Some of them were like I started with a very specific idea of like a feeling or like a theme or something. So like Galaxy Cadet was like Dreams needs something like Frog Fractions, where it seems like it's some kind of game, and then suddenly you realize it's actually just a completely different kind of game than you expected.
Frog
and so like
Fractions?
Oh, you don't know what Frog Fractions is? All right, well I won't explain it. Just imagine,
Where
like,
can you find it? Can you find it today?
I think it's free on Steam actually.
Really?
Frog.
Just want to make sure I'm getting this right. It's Frog
Fractions. Yeah.
All right, I'm writing it down. Frog.
Okay, you gotta play it.
Fractions. When I play Sensorium, I'll sit down for Frog Fractions.
There's also $10 hat DLC for Frog Fractions, and I would highly recommend buying the hat. After actually play the main game first, and then replay it with the hat.
Okay. No, I love that. Like, I mean, it was instantly funny because I'm sure that hat DLC is not really what it is, right? Or perhaps it is in some way, but yeah.
It's a hat. Yeah. Okay. So, but Galaxy Cadet was.
Do you get horse armor? Do you get any horse armor? Anyone get that reference? Horse armor. Skyrim. Or maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was Oblivion. I don't even know. But it was one of those Elder Scrolls games. Like that was one of the early. Like, we're gonna charge you for cosmetics, and people flipped out because it was like $5 for just horse armor. Like just like a suit of armor for your horse, and they wanted something like $5.
Hey, maybe I remember this. Or wait, no, I'm thinking of the Skyrim paid mods controversy, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so Galaxy Cadet was literally like I wanted something with a crazy twist, and everything in that game came out of just that. Like I was like, okay, how can I make a twist? Oh, like in Dreams, if you want to make a 2D game, you're actually just in 3D and looking at a 2D screen, kind of. So, like, what if I did that, but like you're in first person view and then like you walk away and it's this whole 3D thing? Then it was like, why would that be the case? Like, what kind of 2D screen would you be looking at? Okay, maybe that's an arcade game. Why would you be staring at an arcade game and not even realize it? Like, oh, maybe you're brainwashed in some way. Why would you be brainwashed? Oh, maybe it's some dystopian like society. What happens if you realize if you realize and you break away from the screen? What are the consequences of that? Oh, they're like security camera things, and like everything just spiraled out of that initial like twist idea.
I
So
have
like
to
a few of
say,
the
go ahead.
yeah, what were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I'm just going to kiss your ass. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'll get back to the ass kissing.
yeah. I mean, I was just thinking like a few other games were kind of like that. Like I think You Are All That Is Left is like that as well, where it started with like I just want a game that feels hopeless, and will
That's an
actually
interesting
just,
seed.
it'll actually just beat you down, and not in like a typical game designery kind of way where it's like it makes you feel like you're getting beaten down, but actually you're fully capable of doing this. I was like, no, I want something that just feels completely unfair, and see what happens. Like, see whether people like it or not.
It did feel unfair the first
Yeah,
the first few passes through. It feels like, oh, this is unbeatable. Like,
yeah, that one's interesting because like some people really do. They just like give up and they're like, this game's stupid. But like the people that stick with it seem to really like they really like it.
I don't. I've never played a Souls game, and it tends to a game like that tends to be something I would not rush towards. But for some reason, that one I really wanted to beat it. Like I had to work. I worked harder to beat that than maybe any other game in Dreams. I spent some time on Triagon. I remember I spent a number of hours on that. But You Are All That Is Left. I really, really wanted it, and yeah, and I loved that about the game that you slowly figure out. I mean, the mechanics are really simple. I mean, it's a dodge, a light attack, a heavy attack, and you can change your lock on, and that's basically the controls. But it was laid out in a really elegant way.
The AI like reacts to what you do in like an almost perfect kind of way, and like you have the same amount of health as all of the other enemies, so it's just like
Yeah.
and you don't regain health except when you get to the boss fight, it like regains health because I had a little bit of mercy there, but
I wanted to ask about Galaxy Cadet. Did you do all the art for this one yourself, or did you have any collaborators on this?
there might have been a few things like the ceiling tiles might have been community assets and the garbage cans. I think I did the arcade cabinets and the puppets and like the floor, and I think I did most of the art myself actually. Freakers did a lot of the sound design, if not all of it actually. I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think Freakers did like all the sounds, which is really good. Like I really still like the sound design in Galaxy Cadet.
Yeah, it really
that's a
helps
lot.
establish the mood.
Yeah.
I have always really liked the atmosphere in this. I like the colors or lack of colors. Like I like the fact the only real splashes of color are on the screen or that tiny bit on the floor. Did you? I think one of the funnest things about making a game in Dreams for me has been seeing people play it after the fact. I wonder what it was like. My experience playing this game for the first time, like the game boots up and you can walk, if you touch the left stick at any time, it reveals what's happening. I know personally, I feel like I played all the way through and then bumped the stick on accident. I think that might have been how my play went down. What was it like watching people play this thing that you knew had a big surprise ready to go?
It was hit and miss. Like some people really got it. Like they played all the way through and then they got the thing that told them to use the left stick and they did it and they were like mind blown, which was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Some people hit the stick by accident, like trying to control the little ship with it instead of using the D-pad.
Yeah.
And then they just got really confused. Some people, like, the reason it changes to an error screen after you hit the stick is because some people would try to walk back to the cabinet and keep playing the game. Some people still do that. Like they get the error screen and then they restart and they're like, why do I keep getting an error there? And they don't try to like explore anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, yeah, some of them are really cool. Like when MM streamed it as well, I was like holding my breath because I'd seen so many streams where people did it like the wrong way and like completely were lost on the effect of it. But like when Tom played it, he got the intended experience, and that was really fun to watch.
Tom was unspoiled.
Yeah, I think it was still Abby doing the streams with him.
Oh, stop! You're making me think about the couch. I'm gonna get a little weepy. I mean, it's been really great seeing, like, we haven't had the couch back, but we've had Tom and we've had Jen in a chair. Like, that's a big step up from no couch.
Yeah,
baby steps. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. I just love what it does to your expectations, because also I like that you developed the first part of the game. This part, I like that you were bold enough to do that on stream. Like, I remember specifically you were saying, like, you were implying that there was more to this and you weren't going to show the other bits on stream. And I remember specifically, I think I might have sent you a DM because I didn't, just in case I was correct about my guess, I didn't want to spoil it, which, yeah, I don't think I was correct. Oh, no, my guess was it was going to turn into a 3D game, which is like, that's kind of cool. I mean, that's a neat little whatever. But yeah, I
mean, you're kind of right.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, it did go from 2D to 3D, just with a little bit extra, on it. But that's definitely a favorite of mine, just because one thing that I think makes it sometimes disorienting, like, to design something in Dreams, like with an audience in mind, or with a reaction in mind, is that I think Dreams is already a place where it's already a platform that messes with your expectations. You don't always know when you click on something in Dreams. You don't always have a clue what you're getting into, whether it's, just down to whether it's interactive or non-interactive, or, and I think that's really exciting just because it is such a, I don't know, agnostic platform, I guess. And people are excited to make all these different things, from, music to every kind of game you can imagine, to short films, to stuff that I sometimes don't know exactly how to define. I think I really enjoy that part of Dreams, and this just sort of, I don't know, just sort of highlights that, sort of ramps it up.
I was definitely going for something like, not only something you wouldn't find anywhere else in Dreams, but something you'd have a hard time finding anywhere outside of Dreams either. Because I think, like, something like Galaxy Cadet is not a format, like, it's such a small game with that kind of twist. It's like hard to find that anywhere, except like maybe itch.io, maybe like Frog Fractions was a Flash game, but Flash is kind of dead now. And by kind of, I mean like definitely super dead.
Rest in peace, Flash games.
Yeah. yeah, I don't know. So Dreams just I came up with the idea, and like Dreams just felt like the right platform for it.
It kind of does it fill that Flash game hole for me. Dreams
Yeah,
overall.
yeah.
Lovely. Lovely. I thought I had like 3 questions in the back of my head. Oh no, I know what I want. Duckonomics with another good question in chat. He asks, what kind of games do you want other people to make in Dreams so you can play them?
Uh, I don't think it matters as long as it's polished, right? Um, I that's a hard ask though. Like it's hard to know how to polish things. Like for example, there are a lot of games with combat, and the combat works, but it just doesn't really feel nice because people don't quite like they haven't quite nailed the animations. So like landing hits doesn't quite feel good.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like if they had figured that out, it would have been a really good game. But it's just like not. It's like uncomfortable to play because like the game feel isn't there. And so like I wouldn't say what like I wouldn't say there's anything in particular I would want because I like the breadth of experience that you get from Dreams. Like I love just playing through like all this random stuff. It's just like I don't know. The more polished it is, the better.
What would you say are some of your favorite dreams by other people? What stands out to you in a personal way?
Locke is up there. Even though when I played it, it still had things that needed fixing, but it's still a really good game. I like B-Hop Speedrunner. I
Mm,
think it largely flew under the radar for a lot of people, but it's like it was really satisfying, like because it has a cool movement mechanic and it's all speedrunnery, and I love speedruns. And uh,
yeah, I loved that one. B hop is worth
there,
looking up.
yeah, I don't know. They're a bunch of like weird little things that I've enjoyed a lot that I don't remember the names for.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah,
Dreams is good at that. Weird little things.
yeah.
Kamau asks a dangerous question. Because you aren't spoiled on future dev on Dreams yet, what feature would you most like to add? Or what bug would you love to fix? You get an alternate
Uh,
question if you want it.
I mean, yeah, I'll put the disclaimer out there again. Haven't started yet. I don't know what's going on, so I don't know how possible any of this is. It's not a hint about what's happening, but like, um, I don't know. Something I've always wanted was like more text stuff, um, like more dynamic strings, I guess. Um, and I don't know, a bug I would like to fix. I think I get frustrated a lot when I'm trying to work with logic while like the grid is on. And like if the grid is on and you're trying to pull a gadget into a
Hmm.
microchip or something, it can kind of freak out sometimes. And I feel like that would be nice to fix.
I,
Um,
I've heard programmer types use the word strings a lot, and
yeah,
could you explain what that means and how it's used in a development environment?
yeah. So a string is just like text. More specifically, it's an array of characters. Um, so there are strings in that sense already in Dreams. You like type them into a text gadget. It's just you can't really change them at all. And so, if you're making an RPG where you want people to type in their name or something and then have
Yeah,
that name appear everywhere, it's really hard to do that um, because like text is so static in
yeah,
Dreams.
yeah.
And there are like performance reasons for that and stuff like memory management and all that, I'm sure. So it's probably pretty hard to do, but I don't know.
That would be that would be something a lot of people, the specific example you mentioned, just let me put in my name and then have the game, refer to me by my name. I think would be that kind of thing would definitely be very useful.
Yeah.
To state the obvious. Let's see.
Oh, hey, it's Razvan. Razvan is a previous coworker of mine.
Oh, nice.
Just before you banned him for posting links as a first time viewer.
No.
Oh, too late. No animation, don't do that.
It was a little sus. Not gonna lie. Drop it in. First time chat from viewer. It's a link.
Yeah, I've been trying not to answer things from the chat without prompting because of podcast reasons, but I felt like I had to warn about that one real quick.
What would we find at mustache.github.io?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Well, go check it out. Let me know. And if it eats your computer, I'm sorry. It's RBD's fault. He cleared this person. So,
Templating system in many languages.
Oh, huh. Pat Eka says it'd be real nice to be able to toggle off the shadows cast by fog gadgets. Wink, wink. Yeah, who else wants to throw some requests? He starts tomorrow. I think anything you put in chat, he could have done by the end of the week.
There's like an In Dreams forum for this, isn't there? For like feature requests. Go there because that's probably like what everyone's looking at. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I can't stress enough that I don't know what's going on yet.
Even if you turn the global shadows off, they still cast shadows. Falco Rich says he wants multiplayer tomorrow. All right.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'll get right on that.
You heard it. Confirmed. Yeah. It's going to happen.
I'll do it like before noon tomorrow. I won't say which time it's going.
So this is a little general, but I'm curious if there's any game development pitfalls that you see are common in dreams. Like you've already mentioned, like in an action game. I think that's something a lot of us who've been involved in this community and haven't been involved in game dev before are slowly, you slowly come to realize how many ingredients there are in making a character with a sword hit another character and have it work, and not only work, but actually feel right. Like all the things that happen in a game, in a modern game, there's a lot of stuff to implement. I'm curious if you have any perspective on things that you notice in dreams that, if you could give a piece of advice to the community as a whole, have you got anything?
It's pretty broad, but I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? Like I've talked before about how dreams is great because you can just have fun creating whatever. And so in that sense, like being super polished about things doesn't matter. Like what matters is having fun creating. But like if you are creating for an audience, then I think it's very important to be very self-critical and be very critical of the things you make. Because I think especially when you're new, it's very easy to get excited about just releasing something, like just making something and having it like kind of work. But, like if you really want it to be good, like that's not good enough. And so you have to really like play it from the perspective of someone else and get frustrated by the things that are frustrating about it and like really be nitpicky, and then
don't let yourself off the hook.
Yeah, like compared to other like games that are already out there that you enjoy, like would this hold up by those same standards? And like maybe that's unfair because like if you're comparing your game to a AAA game that has this team of like hundreds of other people and like you're just a solo like side project kind of person, like you're not going to be able to match that probably, but it's still good to be critical in that way and like know where you can improve things.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you're aiming for, right? I mean, obviously, excuse me. Obviously, you're not going to recreate, God of War in dreams and have a similar experience to what you get from Sony Santa Monica, but But I think if you're aiming for something, I don't know, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about definitely a fashion show again. And I'm thinking about Meow Mix. And I'm thinking about how my reaction to Meow Mix the first time I saw it was, what is this garbage? Why are you publishing something just to publish something? To by the time I played this whole intro and tutorial, I think I remember watching you create some of this on stream, and it really struck me in that moment how focused you were on putting the work in the right places. Like, this is a game that I played repeatedly, and I'm gonna take a look at that scoreboard real quick. I used to have for a short time, I had a very high score on this, and now it appears my score is a joke.
JC finally beat my score.
Wow.
I had the high score for like a long time.
Wow. JC04TU in the number one spot with 2,400 points. Yeah, RBD right
That's
behind.
Crazy.
And I don't know, at some point, oh no. I have a score that I set this morning.
Oh.
Oh, that's embarrassing. I thought I had a good score on this at one point.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. All right. Okay. All right. 66 poses, 85 poses. I guess that's what a combo does for you. Gets you double the score. But yeah, I got my point is that I found it very replayable. I thought it was novel. Like it presented me with something I hadn't quite done before. It messed with my brain. Lining up with these poses, like, messed with my brain in a way that I found fun. And the game part of it feels completely polished. Like, I never played the game part of this. I don't think I ever had any feedback to the negative on how you could do this better. It felt good. It was fun. It communicates well to the player. Like, it controls well. It's a simple game, right? But I think I might make the argument that you have achieved a AAA level of polish on the game mechanics and the game interactions. And then I think you have very wisely not spent all your time doing other things. When I've tried to approach big projects in the past, that's where, hell, on little projects, that's where I get hung up, is the game design has to be the best I can make it, but also every visual needs to be the best I can make it, and every sound effect needs to be the absolute best, and all these different things have to be they have to be perfect, or why am I even bothering? And then I play with a game like this for hours with with these graphics you're looking at, with all the people at the fashion show sitting with their legs straight out in as we do at fashion shows. And I guess I can appreciate now. I can appreciate the focus and where you're putting the work. I think you might have taken weeks or never released a simple game like this if you got hung up on making it making it a bunch of things it doesn't really need to be great.
That is a good point. Like, scope is very important. Because then you can focus on the little details that play into it a whole lot, instead of trying to make like this vast game with a ton of like mediocre content. You can make something focused that like everyone wants to play over and over again. But I don't know. Again, it depends on like what your goals are and what kind of experience you're trying to make and stuff. And like, I made definitely a fashion show immediately after finishing You Are All That Is Left. And You Are All That Is Left took me like, I think 2 months or so, or 3 months. I don't know. It took me months. And definitely a fashion show took me like a week or two. And like, I remember feeling really frustrated because definitely a fashion show was more popular and like got more likes than You Are All That Is Left, even though I put a lot more effort into the former.
Do you think it's the difficulty of this game that caused that?
Probably, if I had to guess. Because I think the combat and You're All That Is Left feels pretty good. It's just like way too hard. Or it's not. It's exactly as hard as I wanted it to be, but it's too hard for like a feel good game.
Yeah, it does not make you feel good. It takes a long time to get the good feelings.
Yeah.
I played it through. I played it for just a few minutes last night, and I was shocked and appalled at how bad I was. Having beaten the game before, I was really, really disappointed in myself. I couldn't even get past these guys without taking a bunch of damage. But yeah, it was a really fun one. And then you made a sequel. What was why did you want to continue and expand on this?
It wasn't. It was actually a prequel, not a sequel. Which I guess is a little. So You're All That Is Left, like the backstory is supposed to be that like there was this big battle where like your village or town or city or whatever got invaded, and basically the entire army except for you was wiped out, and so you wake up and you have to like fight your way all the way to the throne room, and like so even though you've already lost, it's still supposed to be this like redemption sort of thing where it's like how many people can you take down with you on your way out, because it's like it's already over for you. Whereas this battle for the throne was supposed to be like, oh, this is like the throne room's getting overrun and like there's this one guy left protecting it, like right before You're All That Is Left basically happens where they've already won. That's the backstory, at least. The reason I made it though was actually just because there was like I think like some kind of medieval jam, and this was an entry for that. And I think I literally made this in a day. I just remixed the original You're All That Is Left and tweaked some of the enemies and like added the spawning logic and stuff. And it was pretty much done.
Are you considering ever coming back to make some hat DLC? Because I was feeling like the limited selection of headwear. I mean, you don't get a choice. You don't get any choice in headwear. I think it hurts the game.
I'm sorry.
I think it really feels like that's missing.
When your city's getting overrun by some opposing army, then you don't really get much choice about what hat you wear, though, do you?
How about no? I
There are
understand.
more pressing matters at hand.
I understand. Like, yeah, narratively that makes sense, but maybe we could think about definitely a fashion show. You Are All That Is Left crossover. You Are All That Is Fashion, or definitely a Last Stand, or something like that. That puts a little more emphasis on the fashion.
Maybe I'll just make both of them remixable and someone else can do it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, not it. Someone in chat, please volunteer.
Yeah.
I'm actually
I was thinking like, since I'm starting at MM soon, I might as well just like make all my stuff remixable. Like I can't think of any reason not to, honestly.
Is there
it'd be a cool like learning experience, and like it'd be cool to see remixes and stuff.
Are there games that you have made remixable before? I mean, you put out a template for a little perspective.
Yeah.
So that's something. Like people can see how the mechanics work, and
I can't remember, actually. In fact, You're All That Is Left might already be remixable. I bet Meowmix is remixable.
that doesn't count.
Maybe. Yeah, I can't. Galaxy Cadet might be remixable, actually.
I'm fact checking you right now. Let's see, Galaxy Cadet.
The scene, though, yeah.
Yeah, Galaxy
I guess
Cadet.
it's not. Yeah.
Your screen brightness configuration screen is remixable.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's like that's a tool.
But you heard it here. He's just guaranteed that everything he makes forever is going to be remixable for the community. That's exactly what he said. Don't rewind and try and argue with me.
If I don't forget like literally 10 minutes, then maybe I'll do that today. Or actually, I may I added a new splash screen recently, so I might want to like update that and make sure that's completely final before I go and update literally everything and then like make it remixable or whatever.
Yeah, I need to make it a
Unless
splash
I
screen.
don't know, maybe I'll change my mind. I maybe I'll change my mind and not make it remixable.
I saw this for the first time last night. I really like the look of this. I thought it was very, very, very clean. I love the rotating sculpt at the head of the jellyfish. Wow, I've kept you here for a little while. I'm kind of curious. Oh wow, it is getting late. I feel like wow, it's just flown by. The only thing I've got written down here that I was going to ask you about that we haven't touched on is current dreams projects and or any future ideas that you would want to talk about. I know that you were working on a game that was had a little bit of inspiration from Outer Wilds. Was that accurate?
Yeah. That's probably not happening. Uh,
Oh, so sad.
I was really excited about it. I had like a whole backstory written up. Um, I had found an artist to collaborate on it and everything, and I just like never found the time to want to work on it after a while.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where like I just had to be honest with myself and be like, I want to focus on other things. Maybe I'll go back to it later. But like right now, it's not really on the table.
Is it more about losing interest, or is it too big?
Uh, a little bit of both, probably. I don't think I was that scared by the scope. I think it's mostly like some circumstances changed. Like, so like you had Pixel Gorilla on here, and he was talking about the lock like PC port.
Yeah.
And so I like pivoted off of Dreams a little bit to work on that for like a month or something, and I finished most of the stuff I need to do on that, so I'm probably not going to work on it that much anymore. But then I'm starting at so that means I'm probably not going to have a lot of free time to work on like large game projects anymore, or at least not probably not necessarily a free time thing. It's probably like just a creative mental energy kind of thing. I expect.
You think you'll be spending a little less time in dreams outside of the your workday?
At least on ambitious stuff. I think I'll still continue to make like little small stuff from time to time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm working on Gold Valley 6, so I do intend to finish that at some point. And I also have a couple other small ideas. Like I was visiting my girlfriend a couple months ago, and we were staying at her dad's place one night, and he lives near a church, and there was the church bells started ringing like in the morning while we were still asleep, and it like played into my dream in a really cool way where like the regularity of hearing like the bell toll, and like what happened was every time the bell rang, like uh things in the dream would change. And so like uh it was just like it's really hard to explain until I make it, but just the way things would change in the dream every time the bell rang was really cool, and I kind of want to turn that into a game.
Interesting.
But again, I don't know how much time or creative energy I'll have, but like I still have things I want to make that it's just they're all probably going to be pretty small. It's probably not going to be another like a little perspective kind of thing for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you got a new routine to get used to starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can I ask what? I'm so curious about the game that you abandoned, the one that you the sort of worlds one, the Outer Wilds sort of thing. I'm really curious since it's probably not going to happen. Is there anything you can tell me about what I would have experienced? Like, what was the seed? Because I feel like you were a little cagey on stream, like you didn't want to share, and I wonder if I could convince you to share now that you're not doing it.
So since I last streamed it, I think I changed like the story a lot. And so like the way I wanted the opening sequence to play out was like you would wake up and look out the window and you would see some like spacecraft flying into space or something. And that would be all you have to go off of at the beginning. And what you would do is you'd kind of walk around and you'd talk to people, and they would say like, oh, these people have gone missing, like the people that live over here or something. And so you go visit that area and you find some things left behind by them, like some kind of, I didn't really want it to be an audio log, but it'd be something like that, where it's like you read previous messages between them, and like you figure out some kind of plan they had to like leave and investigate some particular thing. And then eventually you like follow some breadcrumbs and you find like this old like lockdown air hangar that has like these spaceships and stuff. And then you can fly this spaceship out into space, and then there are all these different planets you could fly to and explore stuff.
Wow.
And basically the whole game was going to be about tracking down these people that disappeared while also simultaneously learning about this solar system's backstory and uncovering what the real conflict of all of it is, and also uncovering what the solution to it is. And so like, I don't want to spoil how it would like end, but I guess like the main conflict was going to be like, there's this big, so the way I came up with the idea was like, okay, if you can fly around in outer space, that means you can fly as far away from like the sun as you want. Like, what happens if you fly way out? Everyone knows I hate invisible walls. So like, what's going to happen instead to keep you in the solar system? And I was like, what if you encounter this like enormous space monster and it just like eats your ship and then you respawn in the solar system or something? And so that played into the story where it's like, what if instead of like a monster, it's this sort of like extra dimensional virus that's spreading or something around your solar system, but for some reason it's not quite able to infiltrate your solar system, but there are traces of it kind of getting through. And like, so what you have to figure out is like, why can't this monster get into the solar system? But also, what do you need to do to like stop it from being able to eventually break through? And so you'd have to like gather all these pieces together and then figure out like what to do to save whatever.
This sounds really, really narrative heavy compared to everything else, your other work that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to do different things with my projects. So, like you pointed out, the variety of all the stuff I made. It's because like I usually like to try to challenge myself and make something different every time.
Yeah.
So I figured like, why not try a big story thing?
Nice.
Even though it was way too big. But
Been there a little bit. I've canceled a game or two.
I almost wanted to make like a very small remix of it for like the recent Planet Jam thing, but I didn't have time to like come up with the ideas that would have still like made it small but also cohesive.
Were you going to do like Outer Wild style travel with the spacecraft?
Maybe, or just like one planet where you uncover things about things. I don't know. I liked the I forget what it was called, but it was one of the MM creations for the planet thing where you can actually like fly around to different planets. Did you ever play that? Like you're a little rover.
I don't know if I did. Little Big Cosmos?
That might be it. Hold on. I'm gonna go on In Dreams real quick and find out.
I remember.
I think you did work on it actually, Slurm. I remember you posting it. So that might be it. That's probably it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm doubting you. Where's my most recently played?
Slurm says, I made the logic for this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's it then. Yeah, it's Little Big Cosmos.
Tiny Space. That's the one I'm thinking of, Andy. I don't think I've seen Little Big Cosmos.
It's pretty recent. Oh, the thing I didn't remember. It's like Little Big Cosmos Minima 451. I think is the subtitle.
Nice. All right. Well, I wrote it down next to Frog Fractions.
Yeah, it's on the Dream Queen account.
And I will not look up anything on Frog Fractions before I download and play that.
Yeah.
Message heard. I'm a person who's annoyed by trailers. I'm an old man. Like I will leave the room to avoid seeing a trailer for something I'm excited about at this point. Like, surprises are good. They're fun.
I'll just say about Frog Fraction specifically, like, it's gonna seem really silly. Like, just stick with it
Yeah.
for a little bit, and you'll know when, like, you'll know why I'm recommending it at some point and why everybody else is recommending it, because it's really cool.
I'll have to play that one on stream. Well, I guess I've taken enough of your time. Good Chancellor Jellyfish. If there's anything else you would like to say before you got any plugs? You got any place you want to send people to your Twitter or your dreams or?
So I mean, on Twitter and Twitch, both of them are RbdJellyfish. The YouTube I'm not so active on anymore all that much, but like again, RbdJellyfish. Yeah, I mean that's keep playing Dreams because I'm gonna be working on it soon. So
there you go.
I wanna keep seeing what you all do.
Keep playing Dreams, and if you'd like to support this show, we're live at twitch.tv/KeldBjones on Sundays at 12 p.m. Central, and you can listen after the fact on Spotify and then some other places probably, and YouTube if you want to watch it. And you can bike and vomit and describe. You can rate it. You can review it. You could say bad things about it if you want, but be honest. Give me some constructive criticism. All right, if you're going to be that way, and and it's been a lovely time. RBD, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
You're very welcome. And on that note, I'm going to say, have a lovely day, everybody, and also keep dreaming.
Look at you go, you listen to an entire podcast with Keld Bjones. Nice dreaming, my friend. Keep dreaming.